Welcome back to the Gain Service Academy Mission Podcast and the ROTC Scholarship Podcast. Trish, you've been having fun so far?
Yes, sir. I'm really excited to give some real examples of responses for students who are interviewing for their Naval Academy appointment and Navy ROTC scholarship.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and start with the first example here.
So, the first question is, what does honor, courage, and commitment mean to you, and how have you exemplified these values?
Ma'am, honor, courage, and commitment are really important to me, and they guide a lot of what I do. Let me tell you about how courage stands out in my life. So, courage to me is about standing up for what's right, even when it's tough. Last year, my younger sister was having a really hard time at school because she was being bullied. It was affecting her a lot, and she didn't want to go to school anymore. I knew I had to do something, even though it made me really nervous. One day, I decided to talk to the school administration about it. I set up a meeting with the principal and explained everything that was happening to my sister. It was super intimidating because I wasn't sure how they'd react or if they'd take me seriously. But I knew I had to be brave for her. After that meeting, the school took action and addressed the bullying issue. But it didn't stop there. I also reached out to the parents of the students involved. That was probably the hardest part because it meant facing the bullies' parents and explaining what their kids were doing. I was really scared, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I wanted to make sure my sister felt safe and supported. Seeing her smile again and knowing she felt better was worth all the fear and anxiety I felt. This experience taught me a lot about courage. It's not just about being fearless, but doing what's right despite being scared. I think that's a huge part of what the Navy stands for, and it's something I really connect with. Joining the Navy ROTC program will give me more opportunities to grow in these values and serve my country with bravery.
I really love the example that he gives because I think it's one of the classic answers that we have when we talk about doing the harder right rather than the easier wrong. Standing up to a bully and doing those kind of things shows a great deal of courage. I really like the story when it kind of gets at the courage piece of it. I would say that perhaps he hasn't really done as effective a job talking about honor and commitment on those two pieces. So I think he would have been kind of effective in maybe talking a little more about honor and commitment. But I think the other thing, that you need to do in a lot of these questions is kind of try to apply it to what you believe you're going to be facing either, at an academy or an ROTC program. And when we talk about honor, for example, discussing the honor code at an academy, I think is a very, very important part of that. Or the importance of when you go into the naval service of being an honorable person, and then why is that important as a naval officer? So I would say I like the answer here. I like the example that he gives. I think I would have liked to maybe have seen him expand it a little bit more. So what do you think?
I think it's so easy to fall into the trap, sir, of just talking about what the values mean to you, honor, courage, and commitment without talking about an example of and showing people. So for all of your answers, you should always tell a story. You'll hear that from us again and again. And his story here is really great, but I think you're onto something. He should have talked about the Naval Academy's honor concept if this was an answer for the Naval Academy. Obviously, it's for Navy or TC. If it was me, I would have talked about honor and commitment first, a little bit more, and then gone more into courage. But I loved his story, and I think that the interviewer can see him standing up for his sailors in the future.
Absolutely. And bullying is probably one of the toughest things to stand up for when you look at peer pressure and with the issues with social media these days and all of that. And I find that to be more courageous than a lot of other, perhaps a lot of other acts that you would do because you can lose the respect of your peers. You can be ostracized. And clearly, this person stood up for what was right. And I think when you can use an example like that, that makes a profound impact on the person that's interviewing you. I think it's a really good answer. I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I would give it a 6 because I would have liked to have heard more about the other 2 values, but it's a very good answer.
Great. Okay.
So the next question is, why do you want to attend the Naval Academy?
The Naval Academy is my top choice because it aligns perfectly with my personal goals and passions. Since I was young, I've been drawn to the idea of serving my country and making a difference. But what really solidified my decision to pursue a military career, and specifically to become an officer, was an experience I had during my sophomore year. I was part of a local community service project that aimed to clean up a neglected park in our town. I was just a volunteer at first, but as the weeks went by, I found myself naturally taking on more leadership roles. One day, we were short on supplies, and everyone seemed pretty discouraged. I decided to step up and coordinate a small fundraiser, reaching out to local businesses for donations. It was a lot of work, and I was pretty nervous about asking for help, but seeing the community come together and knowing I had a hand in it was incredibly rewarding. That experience made me realize how much I enjoy leading and helping others. A mentor I met during the project noticed my interest in leadership and suggested I look into the Sea Cadets program. Joining the Sea Cadets was a game changer for me. It gave me a taste of naval life, instilled a strong sense of discipline, and provided numerous opportunities to develop my leadership skills further. I thrived in that environment and knew I wanted to continue on this path by becoming an officer. I want to take what I've learned and experienced to the next level by attending the Naval Academy. The idea of being responsible for a team, guiding them through challenging situations, and making strategic decisions really excites me. I believe the best way to grow as a leader and make a significant impact is through the disciplined and structured environment of the Naval Academy. Academically, I'm passionate about studying international relations with a focus on Asia. My interest in this area started in history class, where I learned about the complex dynamics and strategic importance of the Asia-Pacific region. The Naval Academy's program in foreign area studies is top-notch and would give me the knowledge and skills needed to understand these complexities deeply. This education will be crucial for my goal of becoming a surface warfare officer, where having a strong grasp of international relations can directly influence mission success and foster better international cooperation. I see myself leading a crew on a ship, navigating both the challenges of the sea and the intricacies of international diplomacy. The hands-on experience and leadership training at the Naval Academy are exactly what I need to prepare for this role. I want to be the kind of officer who not only excels in tactical and strategic operations, but also understands the broader global context in which we operate. In short, the Naval Academy offers the perfect blend of rigorous academics, leadership development, and military training. It's the best place for me to grow into the kind of leader I aspire to be. If I don't get into the Naval Academy, I still plan to join Navy ROTC at Texas A&M, and I'm currently competing for a scholarship, but I really do believe in the power of the leadership and character development opportunities at the Naval Academy, and that is my top choice. I'm ready to put in the hard work and dedication required to succeed there and in my future Navy career.
Thoughts?
Wow, sir. What an answer. I mean, to me, she covered it all. She really did. She's just she knows what she wants, and she's very good at articulating it to her interviewer. I really like that she identified that she wants to be a surface warfare officer and she knows what she's going to do at the academy. But she told a story. I don't think a lot of people tell stories in this other than I had XYZ family member and then serve in the Navy. But tell me more than that. What next steps did you take? And really like the fact she talked about her first leadership opportunity and then joined the Sea Cadets as a result of that. What a cool story to tell. What do you think?
I completely agree. You'll see that with a lot of candidates where they'll talk about usually it's grandparents that they were in the Vietnam or something like that, or they joined the military and influenced them. But then they don't really go beyond that other than kind of talking about patriotism and wanting to serve their country. Talking about what they specifically did is, I think, very, very effective here with the story, as well as talking about what they want to do in the Navy. So, I mean, I think it's a great answer. I would have liked to have seen a little less I in there. There's a lot of I want learned. I am passionate. I see myself. I am doing this and that. This is what I want. While that's fine, how about a little bit more we here? I would love to see us. I want to join a team. I want to be part of something greater than myself. Things like that, where you sort of make it a little bit less about you. You don't want to sort of come across as selfish in some ways. I don't want to say that she does here, but Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, by not including anyone else, she does come off as selfish. That's a good point. And it's not very difficult to talk about the we of the team when she's even when she's talking about the community service project, right? I was able to organize 10 people, and as a team we came together and we accomplished this huge mission, and it was so exhilarating to be a part of that team. Even that would change the whole mentality.
Yeah, that would change the whole tone of this. And because what you'll see with some candidates is I arranged these people to do this. I did all the arranging, all the things that to do to make this happen. You kind of ask yourself, well, what was the purpose of the rest of the people in this story? Were they just flunkies for you to manage, or were these people, were they part of your team and then you were just a part of the overall accomplishment of that mission? Because in any of the services, you never get anything accomplished alone. That would be, I think, the one area that I'd recommend just inserting the we, the team, just like you did, would have been made this even better.
Definitely. And the interviewer is thinking, what kind of leaders is this young woman going to be when she commissions? So I would give it a 7.5. If she had put more we and team in there, I would say that's a 10.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8. Maybe I'm a little more generous today. I know that some people in the comment sections of the YouTube for our last two have been a little bit critical of us being too tough on these candidates. Been reading a couple of the comments for our Army and Air Force one, and a couple of them say that we're too tough.
I would say 5 is average. So when we're grading people at 6, that's really good.
It is. It is. So this is a really very, very good answer. It can just be improved a little bit more by bringing in more of we. And I would say that this is a typical thing that we work with candidates is they'll come out of the gate with an answer like this, a really sharp candidate. And then we try to mold the we into the S. So we say a typical answer like this is someone who is a really high achiever, someone who has a really high SAT score, has a 4.0 GPA, and is doing a lot of things. And it never occurs to them the tone of what they're saying brings out this me quality, and just turning a little bit of that into a we can completely change the dynamic.
Great.
Okay.
So for this question, we actually worked with this candidate twice, and we're giving the before answer and the improved answer. So this question, keep in mind, it's going to be a 2-part here. What is the most difficult challenge you faced and how did you overcome it? So let's see what this young man has to say.
Ma'am, the hardest challenge I faced was seeing my best friend cheat on a history exam during junior year. I saw him looking at notes hidden in his sleeve. We had studied together, so it surprised me. I didn't know what to do for a couple of days. Reporting him could have serious consequences, but ignoring it felt wrong. It was tough because I valued our friendship, but I knew cheating was against my values. I eventually talked to him and told him what I saw. He was defensive at first, but then admitted he was afraid of failing. We talked about integrity and honesty. He decided to come clean to the teacher, and then he got a failing grade, but could make it up with the special assignment. This was really hard for me, but it taught me about doing the right thing. I know I'll face similar situations in the future, but this experience gave me confidence.
Yeah. So this is a good story. I like the story. We just have to work on it a little bit more. It needs to be fleshed out in more detail. This is a typical answer we'll get on a first session with a candidate, is that they'll have a story, and a story that can be really developed, but it just is too short of an answer. It just doesn't go into the detail that's necessary. One of the things when we work with candidates that we try to do is this is a challenge, right? In this particular case, you get the impression that it was really easy for this person to make this decision, to confront his peer and to do something about this. Well, I can tell you that it's hard to go and to confront your peer and to tell them to turn themselves in. Sometimes it's just brushed off. One of the ways this answer needs to be improved is there needs to be some sort of struggle here where they're thinking to themselves, should I do this or should I not do this? Why is this a difficult decision for me? Why is this a challenge? Because I don't see the challenge here right now. He says in the beginning, this is the hardest challenge I've ever faced, but yet I'm not seeing a challenge here. That's would be the number one thing he needs to do, is he needs to develop this challenge and tell him why this is such a hard decision to make. Thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. And on top of that, he does not relate it to his future career as an officer or as a midshipman, which he must do because there's a reason why he made this decision. Why did he make this decision and define why it was the right decision to make? Why did he eventually confront his friend? What are the underlying core values that, and then how is that going to apply to his future when he's a midshipman at the Naval Academy or in his Navy ROTC unit?
So we're looking at more of a challenge and kind of the thought process that he went through and fleshing it out. And then in the end, the application piece. So those would be the two that I would probably say there. Grade on this one.
Yeah, I would say it's an average answer. I mean, he did the right thing. That's huge. He showed that he has integrity, but it could be improved. So 5.
So we'll say a 5. So let's see how he improved it the next time.
So again, that was what is the most difficult challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
Ma'am, the most difficult challenge I faced was when I saw my best friend cheat on a major exam during our junior year. It was a tough situation because it really tested my values, our friendship, and my understanding of honor. It happened during a final exam in our history class. I noticed my friend looking at notes hidden in his sleeve. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. We had studied together and I knew he was struggling, but I didn't think he would go this far. I felt conflicted because I valued our friendship, but I also knew cheating was wrong and against everything I believed in. For a couple of days, I wrestled with what to do. I knew if I reported him, it could lead to serious consequences for him, and I didn't want to be the one responsible for that. But at the same time, I couldn't just ignore it. It felt like a betrayal of my own integrity and the trust our school had in us as students. More importantly, it felt like a betrayal of the concept of honor, which is about living truthfully and standing up for what is right. This closely aligns with the Naval Academy's honor concept, which emphasizes integrity, truthfulness, and fairness. I finally decided to talk to him directly. I pulled him aside after school and told him what I saw. I was honest about how it made me feel and why I thought it was wrong. At first, he was defensive and angry. He accused me of not understanding the pressure he was under. But as we talked more, he began to open up. He admitted he was afraid of failing and letting his parents down. We had a long conversation about integrity, the importance of earning our achievements honestly, and how cheating undermines the honor of our academic community. It wasn't easy, but I convinced him to come clean to our teacher. We went together, and he admitted to what he had done. Our teacher was disappointed, but she appreciated his honesty and willingness to face the consequences. My friend received a failing grade on the exam, but our school has a policy that allows for a makeup assignment under strict conditions, which he completed. This was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it reinforced my belief in doing what's right, even when it's difficult. It also strengthened our friendship in a strange way. We were able to move past it, and my friend learned a valuable lesson about honesty and the importance of living honorably. I know I'll definitely encounter situations like this in my battalion, and even after I commission. However, the fact that I had the courage to do the right thing in this situation gives me the confidence that I behave honorably and will do so in the future. I truly believe integrity is a habit, and the more I practice this, the stronger I become in the face of these types of challenges. This situation tested and strengthened my commitment to those principles, and I'm excited to continue to build on these concepts with my battalion.
Okay. Yeah, this is a lot better here. The key sentence here is for a couple of days, I wrestled with what to do. Okay, that is realistic. Okay. These decisions have to be tough. This was a difficult decision for him to make. I can tell you when I was in high school that if I had turned in someone in for a grade in a class, that I would have been ostracized and it would have been a serious blow to my social status in the school. So this is a tough decision to make in a lot of cases. So I mean, good, he wrestled with it. You want the person who's listening to you telling this story to feel that struggle. I feel it now. I really feel that struggle that he's having here and that he's having a difficult decision. If I was in that same situation, man, I'd feel the same way as this person. And man, he made a tough decision here and did the right thing. And wow, what a fantastic person this is and a great decision that he made. So he does it here, I think, very, very effectively.
He does. And I also like how he goes into more of the interpersonal relationship that he has with this friend. He's showing you that he's trying to empathize with his friend. He's trying to understand where he came from, because that's going to happen. You're going to have to empathize with the people that you're leading. And he's showing that he's going to be a supportive leader. And also the fact that he worked through it with his friend. He talks about the fact that his friend didn't accept it at first, but he listened to him.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And then you say to yourself, okay, this is a more realistic depiction of what happened. And we're not saying that in the previous example he omitted anything. It's just that what he did was he probably went back and said, sometimes you got to ask the candidate some leading questions and say, what really happened here? Then they go back and they think about it a little bit more. That, yeah, it was a lot more. I did a lot more than just simply convince the guy to turn himself in, and he turned himself in. This was a struggle. Being able to articulate that struggle was really good. And then I think the second point I think that was really good here was exactly what your initial improvement was on this thing, was applying it to the Navy in general. I think he does that in the middle of it, and he certainly does it at the end.
Yeah, he's very successful, and he's talking about his battalion. He's talking about being a midshipman, and you can just imagine him in that perspective as the interviewer. One thing that I think is really key here is that a lot of students will have encountered instances in their high school career when they saw someone cheating and they didn't do anything about it. And they don't have an instance where they turned someone in, maybe when they should have. So if that's the case, I want you to think critically back about how your perspective has changed from that situation, and talk about how you would act differently going forward, because it's okay to talk about failures as long as you have learned from those failures and grown from those failures and can apply that to your future as an officer.
Yeah, that can be even more real in some ways to say, I saw that person cheat, and then you apply it to the Navy values or to the honor concept at the Naval Academy. And then you can tell your interviewer now that you understand that what you did was not the right thing to do. And that's almost a good way to kind of turn the tables on some of this. That can even sometimes be a more effective answer than just simply being the 20th person that the interviewers listen to that has been the hero. I imagine these interviewers are probably going like, man, these people are turning in people all the time in these high schools. And I mean, and hearing it over and over again, these interviewers are going like, oh yeah, here we go. Another time where a person stood up to a bully or turned a person in for a test or didn't cheat. And I mean, to me, it's almost by showing that something you didn't do and where you failed, that might even be refreshing for an interviewer to hear something like that.
Certainly, certainly. And they stand out in the person's mind too when they're writing up the evaluation at the end.
Yeah. So that's sometimes like doing the opposite of what you think they're looking for can be a more effective answer in some of these. So great, really great point.
It shows that you're a humble person and you have humility. And as long as you have the plan of how you're going to prevent that failure from happening again, it's not enough to just say, I had this failure. You have to talk about how you've learned it and grown from it.
So for this second one, what would you say? You've been saying it first, so I'll give you the grade. I'd say 9 or a 10. I mean, it's really, really good. So our last one is, if you don't get into the Naval Academy, what is your plan?
Ma'am, my dream is to attend the Naval Academy because of its amazing programs and the chance to develop into a strong leader. But I know it's super competitive, so I have a backup plan just in case. If I don't get into the Naval Academy, I'll join a university with a great NROTC program. I've already applied and been accepted to a few schools that have strong NROTC units, like the Citadel and Texas A and M, and I'm waiting to hear back if I won the NROTC scholarship. The NROTC program will still give me the training and opportunities I need to become a Navy officer, which is my ultimate goal. I'm also planning to work on improving my application for the Naval Academy next year. I'll focus on getting better grades, especially in math and science. I learned a lot from the C in pre-calc I got last year, and looking forward to doing better in calculus this year. I started attending all office hours with my teacher and extra tutoring to make sure I'm successful. I will also take on more leadership roles at my unit if I can and in my community. When I visited the battalion at Texas A&M, I spoke with one of the midshipmen who helps with PT, and that's a role I would love to take on if the opportunity arises. These experiences will help me grow and make my application stronger for the next time I apply. So, ma'am, even if I don't get into the Naval Academy right away, I won't give up on my goal of becoming a Navy officer. I'm ready to take the steps through the ROTC program and other opportunities to prepare myself for this career. My dedication to serving in the Navy and my commitment to improving myself will remain strong no matter which path I take.
Okay, Trish, what do you think of this one?
I really like it. So many students are obsessed with attending a service academy. And this student understands that her ultimate goal is to commission as a naval officer and not to be a Naval Academy graduate. It's great if she's a Naval Academy graduate, but the goal is to serve as an officer in that branch of service. It's not about the Naval Academy, it's about the service that comes afterwards, whether it's 5 years or 25 years. And she gets this. It's very clear to me that she's in it for the right reasons. And I love the fact that she's already mentioned specific schools and I can see her at the Citadel or Texas A&M. I like that she's being honest with me about applying for the scholarship. I also really like the fact that she talked about one of her failures, which was getting a C in pre-calculus this past year. That was really excellent. And she had a plan to make sure that she does better in calculus this year.
Yep. And she wants to reapply to the Naval Academy the next year. We might refer to our recent podcast where we talk about how the Naval Academy favors those who are reapplicants here, right? Show that grit and determination. I think that's so important. I love this answer. I mean, for all the reasons that you talk about, the NROTC piece of it, the fact that she's going to reapply at the Naval Academy, and bringing up things that she can improve on. So this is pretty much the model answer for this question. I give this one a 9 or even higher than that.
Yes. And she also shows her knowledge too of the Naval Academy and Navy ROTC. She went to visit a unit. She's talking about talking to a midshipman and taking on a role in the unit. It's very clear that she's invested and that she's gone way above of what is normally expected of students to learn about what the opportunities are.
Yep, absolutely. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing these three sessions. Hopefully, what this does is this gives you a little peek behind the curtain regarding what you would see with a typical answer from a candidate and where a candidate can improve or iterate from their initial answer to an answer that would be a much better one by the interviewer. So I really enjoyed doing this, Trish.
For all of our listeners out there, if you have a topic that you want to hear more about, please reach out to us at info@gainserviceacademyandmission.com and ask your questions. And maybe we will go into a podcast episode on your specific topic.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We're always looking for new ideas.
See you next time.